In the first point, labor sold as a commodity in exchange for money. What if human labor market became unnecessary to the production of goods and services? More specifically, what if automation technology and artificial intelligence became advanced enough to allow for the replacement of perhaps 40%, 50%, 60% of the human labor force? At what point would such displacement, thus unemployment, be considered too much for the system's integrity and put it into question? As far as the second point, the need for cyclical consumption, what if conditions arose where the circulation of money was severely stifled? In other words, what if people simply did not need to continually buy things? What if, hypothetically, it was discovered that through optimized techniques in resource management, design, and production, the most commonly purchased goods could either be made obsolete by larger order renovations, or could have such extreme product efficiency, longevity, and near maintenance-free durability that most items could last a lifetime without replacement or major repair. Of course, this exact idea couldn't be applied to perishable items such as food, but following the same train of thought, what if the cultivation and production of food was in such ease and abundance, through technology obviously, that the supply and demand equation made the value of such items utterly negligible? To put these points in a different way, let's consider the classic economic concept of theory of value. Everything in society theoretically is given a value based on two considerations: the scarcity or availability of the materials used, and the amount of human labor required to produce a good or service. So, if material scarcity, both in terms of resource availability and quality, was not the issue, and human labor was not required to create a good or administer a service, then there would technically be no value. Well, as most of you in this room probably already understand, one of the greatest realizations of Jacques Fresco and the Venus Project, which should be one of the greatest realizations for the whole of humanity at this point in time, is that neither of the scenarios presented are hypothetical. Human beings are indeed being replaced, becoming obsolete, in other words, in the labor force due to advancements in production technology. Likewise, powerful new design advancements in production efficiency and resource management reveal the profound possibility of relative global abundance and peak product efficiency. This can be proven through statistical analysis and the inferential extrapolation of historical trends. Obviously, the corporations aren't out there telling you this. You have to dig much deeper to find this information. When it comes to production automation capabilities today specifically, the first thing to consider is a statistical evaluation of a phenomenon called technological unemployment. Technological unemployment, which is the unemployment caused by the use of machines as vehicles of labor, has continually and systematically forced relevant numbers of people out of every single new emerging sector for the past 300 years. Our current employment market is basically broken into three sectors: agriculture, including mining and fishing, manufacturing, tangible goods, and service, intangible goods. As a near universal social progression, all societies tend to follow the same developmental path, which takes them from a reliance on agriculture and extraction towards the development of manufacturing, such as automobiles, textiles, shipbuilding, steel, and finally towards a more service-based system. Naturally, the only reason some countries are farther behind in this process than others has to do with the affordability of the technology required to make it move to the next level. It's irrespective of social system or political disposition. It is a scientific progression. So let's consider this phenomenon using the United States as a proxy. Coming from the States, that's a lot where my data comes from, but please note that this can be applied to any economy. In 1860, 60% of Americans worked in the agricultural sector. However, today, due to advancements in machinery and automation, less than 1%. Fortunately, those technological advancements also gave rise to an emerging industrial revolution, and by 1950, 33% were employed in the factory-based manufacturing sector. As of now, due to continual advancements in machine automation, it is less than 8%. So considering that only roughly 9%, granted there's probably a few percent leeway on there depending on which analysts you use, so there's only 9% of Americans working in agriculture and manufacturing now, where did everybody else go? Service sector. The only thing that has saved the U.S. labor market after the technological renovation of the agricultural and manufacturing sectors is flight to the service industry. From 1950 to 2002, U.S. employment in the service sector went from 59% to 82%. The service sector is the dominant employer of Americans today, along with all other industrialized countries. Of course, this begs the question, is this sector insusceptible to the wrath of technological unemployment? Of course not. With the advent of increasing versatile computer technologies, we are seeing job displacement once again, this time in all service industries. The replacement of tellers and cashiers with kiosks, the use of automated voice systems for phone service, the internet has completely redefined retail, not to mention full kiosk systems in physical marketplaces, advanced food prep machines, and even research done by automation these days. As economist Stephen Roach has warned, the service sector has lost its role as America's unbridled engine of job creation. As a unique example, in Germany, the first completely automated restaurant is in operation. It uses kiosks for ordering and payment. The food is served by a fully mechanized system. There is zero waitstaff. There is no reason that this idea could not be done with every single eating establishment in the world. In fact, if one was to think creatively about the application of technology in general, in isolation you see pockets of things where you see a news report about a certain technology that can do certain things. If you were to apply those creatively, I don't see how 90% of the entire service industry couldn't be wiped out tomorrow. The only reason it hasn't been done is because the focus of society is backwards when it comes to social progress. To illustrate this point more so, let's stop thinking about technology in terms of unemployment for a moment and consider it from the angle of productivity. The most incredible relationship of all of this is that the more technological employment increases, the more productive things become. In the G7 advanced industrialized countries, employment in manufacturing has been dropping, but manufacturing output has been rising. Here is the chart. I think it's quite profound. I love this. The truth is that the U.S. manufacturing is doing quite well, in every way except the number of people it employs. Furthermore, few economists would judge the health or sickness of any industry based solely on employment. By that standard, agriculture has been the sickest industry of all for decades because employment has declined, although farm productivity rose dramatically in the past century. Industrial health is better measured by output, productivity, profitability, and wages. The person is completely forgetting one universal thing. If human laborers are displaced, they cannot obtain purchasing power. If they cannot obtain purchasing power, they cannot fuel the economy by consumption. So on that level, it doesn't matter how productive we are. No one can buy anything. The phenomenon has been termed by some theorists as the contradiction of capitalism. For not only is the obsolescence of the human labor force the obsolescence of the consumer, the high level of output generated by technological efficiency makes the corporate motivation to pursue such advanced means very strong, even though it is economically self-defeating over time. In other words, regardless of the level of productivity, if people don't have jobs, they can't buy anything. This very fact alone, that productivity is inverse to employment in all sectors, should be enough to warrant a deliberate shift from the focus of human labor to a system where technology is given the highest priority. The system is literally denying peak production, and in a world where 1 billion are starving, I think that's extremely despotic.